prepared. We are entering deep and dark waters of SHTF. Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. If you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, hit the alert button, the little bell there. Hey, but you're on Patreon, aren't you? Yeah, that's right. Patreon.com, folks. It is time for our daily broadcast where I give you 30 minutes, 30 minutes of monologue, and you get to do 30 minutes of Q&A, question and answer with me live every day. Today is a big day in America with regard to government assuming that you are no better than a slave, that you're no smarter than a young child, that you have no rights, but just privileges. Oh my goodness. President Xi Biden has overstepped his bounds. He is literally, I don't know, some might say dancing with the devil on this one, thinking that he's going to just dance all over the top of our heads. Folks, this is what the man, and I use that term in a very general manner. It's what the man has had to say. He has declared war, essentially, on us, the people, particularly the people who have chosen not to get the hokey pokey zombie juice, Jim Jones Kool-Aid. Apparently, there's approximately 80 million people of us out here. And he has said that, and this was interesting, he didn't say my patience, he said our patience is wearing thin, and your refusal has cost all of us. Since when do I have to, or you, or anyone else have to obey our desire, whoever our is, or we, or them? Since when do we have to do what somebody else said? You know, like a true asshole, a true dictator, a true tyrant, right? His patience is wearing thin. Oh, you mean I'm supposed to fear the loss of patience by someone who appears to be suffering from dementia, who has allegedly sexually assaulted one of his female employees? Staff, whatever you want to call them. I have to worry about the patience wearing thin of someone who loves to sniff little girls and touch all over them. I have to worry about that, folks. I don't go to anybody and say, hey, you're wearing my patience thin. But if anyone should have their patience worn thin, it's us. Me, you, us, the American people. We were told, give us 2 weeks to flatten the curve. Let us figure this little problem out. Give us a couple more weeks. Here we are, folks, over a year and a half later, and these fucking people still don't know what they're talking about. They're still lying to us. They're still making up shit as they go. They're absolutely contradicting themselves almost on a daily basis, back and forth, back and forth. And whose patience is wearing thin? Fuck you, Buster. That's all I got to say about that. Your patience is wearing thin. Bring it on, bitch. I think that is the attitude I have heard the most of today. There are people who are just hot under the collar. It's like, hey, I'm just John. What are you talking to me like that for? You know, that's the attitude I have, because people are just fucking hot. And they're just hot, man. This is Joe Biden again. What more is there to wait for? What more do you need to see? We've been patient, but our patience is wearing thin. What more is there to wait for? It's my fucking decision. It's your decision, America. You get to decide. This was never what more? Give me more and I'll change my mind. This has always been for me. No, you can't tell me what to do. No, I don't take vaccines. No, there's no good reason. What more do I need to see? Nothing. I've seen enough. Haven't you? Have you seen enough of their lies, their manipulation, their bullshit? Whether it's Dr. Dumbass in front of Congress lying his ass off about weaponizing fucking germs? Haven't you seen enough about this neo Joseph Mengele who is experimenting with baby parts that have been aborted and experimenting on poor dogs out in the desert? How much more do I need to see? I've seen enough. I have seen enough facts, statistics. I've seen enough results. I've seen enough damage from this group of clowns that claim to be the experts. Oh, there's a lot more to this, folks. It's coming. Get your questions into Jolene now. Get them into Jolene. We're going to talk. We got a lot to talk about. And this idea of, and this really pisses me off. Your refusal has cost all of us. Okay. Everything costs everyone. Let's see, people who are obese, people who are too skinny, people who eat unhealthy, people who waste their money on stupid, senseless shit. That's a waste. It's just a waste, right? The cost. What about people that smoke? What about people that chew tobacco? What about people that take alcohol? What about people that take too many prescription drugs? What about people who go to the hospital over everything and anything? They're fucking hypochondriacs. Do they cost? Oh, you bet. What about people who drive unnecessarily fast? They waste gas. They waste their tires. They waste their car. Well, what are we going to do about them? Just, it's asinine, folks. Asinine. So this is what he says. The new tyrant, the new King George in America is no longer across an ocean. He is sitting in Washington, D.C. Now, he doesn't like the fact, folks, that Republican governors have come out en masse, at least 20 of them now, and said, no, we are not going to obey you. He says, get this, I will use my power to get them out of the way. Number one, what power does the president have over governors? None. He has the power, folks, to sign legislation that has come through Congress, that is the House of Republicans and the Senate. That's what he has the power to do. He is charged with ensuring the peace, right? He doesn't have power to make Republican governors do shit any more than Trump had power to make Democrat governors accept his offer of help to put down a bunch of arsonists, murderists, looting, communist punks in 2020. Trump offered, that's all he could do. He could send some federal agents to federal buildings, and that's all he could really do. But he's going to use his power. And then, folks, this expression, get them out of the way, like he's going to sweep them aside. This doddering old fuck is so powerful, he's going to sweep them aside. Now, it is important to note that this bumbling idiot really has no power. I bet he couldn't lift a 40-pound dumbbell. He can lift an ice cream cone to his fucking lips, and that's about it. He doesn't have any real power. He doesn't have any real thoughts of his own. These are all being written for him. It's a sad state, but it's a fact. I will use my power to get them out of the way. Sounds like some disgusting, filthy, slobbering movie villain. And then as he finished his little speech, folks, right, slams his hand on the podium. That is an act of aggression, folks, that's reserved for the enemy of the people. Well, we are the people, and he's supposed to be representing us. He's declaring the people the enemy of the people. Right? Now, reporter wants to find out, hey, is what you're doing constitutional? Whoa, the media actually asked a question. And just like Jen Psaki, the pile of shit press secretary, as soon as he's done, he runs from the podium. Well, as fast as he can run. Acts like he's all high and mighty. He says, get vaxxed. Get vaccinated. He's that grumpy old fucker that no one likes in the neighborhood. He's that grumpy old relative no one wants to see. No one wants to invite him to Christmas because he's just a grumpy old fuck. Doesn't have anything intelligent to say. Not interesting, not fun. He's that guy. But hey, is what you're recommending, what you're prescribing, what you're demanding, is it constitutional? No answer. You want to know why he didn't answer on his six-pronged approach to battling Cerveza-Bug? He didn't answer the unconstitutional question because, number one, he can't. It is not constitutional. Therefore, there is no adequate answer. There is none. Lawsuits have already been filed by federal government as well as private individuals and groups. The Supreme Court should step up right now, issue a stay on this presidential order. He's not a fucking dictator. He's not the Führer as much as he wants to be. This is still America. Maybe they ought to do what the Germans did and go and burn the Reichstag. I mean, Congress. Maybe if he burns Congress to the ground, then they'll say, oh yeah, I guess 2 out of 3 branches of the government's all we need. And just hand all the legislative power over to Joe Biden, which is essentially what he's done by proclaiming himself the Führer dictator. You will do this. We're tired of waiting on you. We've given you lots of time. No, folks. No, that's not how it works. We've given the government a lot of time to prove that this is safe, effective, and necessary. And on all 3 counts, I say they have failed. None of what they're doing in the government is necessary, in my opinion. None of it. Absolutely none of it. And it's not just going to affect businesses with more than 100 employees. It's going to affect all the businesses that do business with 100 employees. Say a company has 100 to 150 employees. They'll just fire the ones that they need to fire to get that number below 100. They already know they're losing business, folks. The economy is in fucking shambles. May as well cut some more on overhead. Hey, cut some more overhead. Have your employees work 50 hours a week. Net savings. But, you know, as it is, by mandating this, people are going to quit. They're going to quit in hospitals. They're going to quit in trucking. They're going to quit in manufacturing. What little there is in America. How about fast food restaurants? How about any restaurant chain? They have more than 100 employees. Are they going to be counted as franchises or just the entire unit? We're going to find out, folks, how far these bastards want to go in trying to tell us what our country is and isn't and what we all have to do. Oh, use my power. Okay, bring it on, old man. Unfucking believable. All right. What is the source of his authority to compel people to follow his instructions or face substantial fines, right? Substantial fines, what is it? I've heard $14,000. Everyone has to either get it or get tested every week. What can an employer do? They mandate that you either get it or you get tested. And I tell the employer, no. Has the employer done his job? Is the employer now required to fire you? Is the employer required to force someone to get it, or they have to pay a fine? See, there's too many damn questions here. So, of course, the easiest way out is just to fire people or for people just to quit. Wait, wasn't Joe Biden supposed to be the great uniter? I seem to remember that. He's going to unite the country. Really? Yeah. And folks, do not forget, in all of this, what has America seemed to have forgotten in one day? The fact that we still have Americans who have been abandoned by Adolf Biden over in Afghanistan. They're still there, folks. They're still hiding. They're still pissing their pants, wondering if Taliban or ISIS-K is going to kick in their door, whether their neighbors are going to snitch on them. You know that old diary of Anne Frank, where Anne Frank was hiding between the floorboards from the Nazis because she was Jewish? What do you think these Americans are doing? They are hiding, scared to death. Scared to death. Because they could be, at the very least, whipped, more than likely executed, and worse still would be to be made some hairy fruitcake's love slave. I don't want that for me. I don't think anyone else would want it for them either, male or female. But that's how sick these people are over there. It is insane, folks. But thank God the Trump group and others, including Operation Pineapple Express, are getting people the hell out of there. It's frustrating beyond comprehension, folks, that there's so much going on. So much is wrong. The shit has hit the fan so bad, so much, so bad that we can't keep track of everything that's happening. We can't. Finally, we have some elected representatives, in this case, governors, who have said, quote, "We will fight Biden to the gates of hell to protect liberty." Once again, where are we at, folks? We're losing our liberty on a daily basis to these bastards who assume they have the power to negate, to eliminate, to remove our rights as if they're mere privileges, mere grants of permission. If you go back all the way to 2016, I was talking about what? I was talking about Trump. Why isn't he talking about freedom and liberty and our rights? Why isn't he campaigning on that? By the end of his campaign, folks, by the end of his presidency, that's all he was talking about, was rights and liberty and freedom. And here we are today, hanging on with our fingernails and the skin of our teeth, trying to tell government you don't have the right. Finally, folks, at this point, finally, we have governors standing up saying, no, we're going to fight. Now, I sure hope they're not just lying and bullshitting, because when they say gates of hell, fight to the gates of hell, that's a very nasty place, folks. Anyone who's ever been to the actual gates of hell has a pretty damn good understanding of what that really means. In Ohio, a Senate candidate, not even a senator, a Senate candidate, J.D. Vance, has called for mass civil disobedience in response to Adolf Biden's they're not just mandates, it's madness in his mandates. How many people are willing to live under this shit? Well, I'm just going to do what government says. I'm just going to do what my boss says. I'm just going to do what my friends and family say because it's easier to do. How easy is it, folks, to die an excruciating death at the hands of tyrants? Well, the dying part kind of sucks, but it's pretty easy just to get down on your knees and wait for the sword to come down on the back of your neck. And this is just too much, folks. On the same day that Biden has basically sounded just like Adolf Hitler and Arnold Schwarzenegger and saying, screw your freedoms, right? We've got Camel Toes Harris, the vice president, the very same day that Biden pulled his shit. She says, when people are able to make choices without government interference, we are a stronger society. When people are able to make choices without government interference, we are a stronger society. Okay, queen bitch. Well, she was talking about abortion, is what she was talking about. So that makes us a stronger society when you can make that choice without the government interfering. But when it comes to cerveza bug and Jim Jones juice, the government gets to make the choice for us. And it's all about government interference and mandates and requirements. Well, I guess that makes us a weaker society, doesn't it? Because it's the opposite of what Camel Toes is preaching. But since she was talking about abortion, maybe Biden can mandate all women to get abortions so that everyone feels freer, right? Because apparently that's what we need for freedom is more abortions. And what we need for a good country is for everyone to just obey the government. It is mind-blowing where they're going with this, folks. Now, in our world, where you and I are at, private businesses are going to face a $14,000 fine per violation of the new Emperor Biden rules. But United States postal workers, they're exempt from this mandate. Did you know that? But private citizens, me, you, private businesses, us, we have to pay a fine. Why is it that one group gets an exemption and other groups must obey? How does this work? It makes no fucking sense unless you accept the fact that the entire system is corrupt from top to bottom. The entire system, it's absolutely corrupt. It has failed. That is why so many people today are out buying ammunition. That's right, folks. Sadly, and I do mean sadly, that people feel they have to get more ammunition because they know they're being threatened right now, folks. Threatened. They're being threatened. If you don't see this as a threat, this is not just, it's not just a one-time deal. It's not just for 1 week. Well, if you accept the threat now and bend your knee to it, what happens in 3 months when they say you need another and you need another and you have to pay for it. You have to pay $1,000 a month to get their very special cocktail, their tequila shot. The government can mandate whatever it wants. If it can tell you about how you're going to care for yourself by claiming that by, you have to do that or you're hurting everyone else. This idea, folks, that it's asinine. It's just beyond asinine that you can take their junk and still not be immune. Isn't that what it's supposed to do? It's supposed to give you immunity, yet people aren't immune. This, in my opinion, is a massive poisoning. I think a lot of people are of that opinion. They're being poisoned. Absolutely poisoned. They're poisoning their minds. The people that are out here saying you have to do what the government says, their minds have been polluted, poisoned, corrupted. Now they're doing it to their bodies, and they're demanding that you do it to your body, that you conform to their demands, right? They're losing patience and they have the power. What gives them the power, folks? Putting papers in a ballot box doesn't give anyone power. It doesn't. And speaking of power, I want to go down this road with you. In Los Angeles, LA, the school district there has mandated that children 12 years of age and older must get a tequila shot. They've mandated it. This is a school district, folks. They have no more authority than to determine what time the school day starts and ends and what's on the lunch menu. That's the end of their authority. To claim that they can force you to get your child into their program, and guess what? You can take your kid home. Guess what? If I live there, my kid no longer goes to the Los Angeles school district. I will homeschool to protect my child from these fucking lunatics. How long? Just let me ask this question. I'm not promoting violence. I'm not inciting it. I'm not glamorizing it. How long until people start getting shot, folks? How much longer now? A week? Maybe a month? As the pressure builds and builds and builds? How much longer? It's not going to be organized, folks. It's going to be people losing their shit. How much longer? I don't know for sure. I wish I did. All I can say is I am prepared. We have food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. We have a plan. Folks, it's the weekend, and we made it through a week of this shit. A week of it. And it's just gotten worse. How much more before people lose it? Now, the attitude today, after Biden coming out with this shit, is it's not going to be long. You know, the federal law enforcement agencies or the federal law enforcement union has said, no, we're filing a lawsuit. People don't, they've had it, folks. Now, let's talk about, again, civility versus barbarity. In a civilized country, you aren't forced to do anything. In a civilized country, you're free and you have options. Tyranny, governments run by dictators, are barbarous. They mandate everything, and if you fail to obey, they will come and get you, arrest you, execute you, enslave you, imprison you. In a civilized society, when someone hurts you, you can take them to court. In a barbarous culture, society, someone harms you, you harm them back, or you harm them first. And you go after whoever the warlord and the boss is. Which way are we going as a country? Are we becoming more civil, where people are free and their disputes are settled in courts? Well, we're still threatening lawsuits over here. Yeah, we're kind of civil still. But what do we have the government doing? We're going to come arrest you. We're going to fine you. You don't have any say in anything. You must obey. We've got prisons for you, wellness camps, vaccination camps, concentration camps, deprogramming, re-education camps. Oh yeah, folks. What happens when you start seeing people showing up at these currently? When you start seeing people operating FEMA camps or government camps, period. What are you going to do for them? You're just going to watch them rot in there if they're even allowed outside? What about people that you know that are working for the government? Let me ask you this instead. If you were around in 1940 and you knew two of your neighbors were working at Auschwitz, that they were working in a concentration camp where people were being hurt, enslaved, and murdered, what would you do to those guards? Knowing what you know today about 1940 Auschwitz, Poland. It's a good question, huh? Well, today we go like, we know that was bad and wrong, so I would just kill them. What if it starts happening today? How far are we from that right now? Just ask yourself some questions. I'm not telling anyone to do anything. I'm not glamorizing the fuck out of nothing. We're just talking about it. What are a free people? What are a free and moral people supposed to do in the face of tyranny? Are we supposed to cower before it? Are we supposed to obey it and wait for some savior to come along? As much as we'd all like a savior to come along, you bet we'd like that. While people die, while people are being hurt and destroyed, their families destroyed, their property lost, their jobs, their businesses. Are we supposed to stand by while that happens? I can't tell anyone what to do. I do know that Joe Biden's mandate is applied to us, the people, and not all the federal workers. And certainly also, folks, it doesn't include illegal aliens. Of all the people, folks, that would like to be in America, those with the least say in it are illegals. And those illegals don't have the same protections we have as American citizens. If the government wants to force vaccination on anyone, shouldn't it be on someone who has a very sketchy health record? In other words, no record at all, because they come from a country that doesn't keep health records. And speaking of health and immunity, I want to finish up my section here with China. China is now facing economic collapse, folks. They're facing bankruptcy. It's because the entire world economy is interconnected. And as Europe and America slows down economically, it takes a shit. We can't buy stuff from China. What are we going to buy it with? What do we have to give them of value if our currency is being destroyed? We buy less. We're going to continue to buy less and less. That's going to bring China down as well. It's kind of a big whoops on the part of China. If they wanted to destroy America, they're destroying a massive part of their own economy. But they do own the means of production with all of their manufacturing facilities, which have American names on them like Apple and Nike. Oh yeah, folks. We've been screwed over by our own government. Well, let's do this. Let's get to you guys.
Are you ready?
Well, it is the weekend, so let's do it. Let's get to the last of the questions for the week. And then, of course, there'll be the worldwide weekly wrap-up, uncensored, coming Saturday. Oh, goody, goody gumdrops. I can't wait to cut loose on that. I wonder what I'll talk about. For now, though, let's get into your questions. We got He Bloke or He Block says, I'm preparing to quit my job. I will not take it. Not going to happen. I can outlast this administration. I've saved. I've prepped. This administration is poison to the Republic. Your comment, John. Those are some powerful statements. And I know that you mean them 100%. Because you didn't say, I'm going to find out if I have to do anything. You didn't say, I'm going to make them fire me. You said, I'm going to quit. Nobody who is fully prepared, or nobody who is not fully prepared, would just say, I'm going to quit. I'm sure you've thought about it and put a lot of thought to it. But you've made a decision. You're going to stand on the courage of your convictions. You're going to stand on the moral foundation that is you, and that's awesome. And I pray and am certain that many people will. Eventually, they will have to, because we keep getting pushed to the edge. You said, I can outlast this administration. Many people can, because they are preppers. They have intelligently saved money, stored up the necessary food and supplies to outlast the government. I've saved, I've prepped, you right. And you are absolutely correct in that the administration, the Biden administration, is poison to the Republic. It is toxic. And folks, it's also terminal. Now, here's the fear that I have when you ask for my comments. My fear is that, yeah, we could and can outlast the Biden administration, but we may have such a case of government toxicity that they have destroyed the country so effectively and so fully that it wouldn't matter whether or not you or me or anyone else took the Jim Jones juice, that it's going to fall apart anyway, right? This isn't, you can't just take a Tylenol. You can't just take an Alka-Seltzer. You can't eat some activated charcoal to absorb, right, all of the toxins that have been spewed by this ridiculous, filthy concept called socialism that is being espoused by various Democrats under different labels and titles. But if it's destroyed everything, folks, it doesn't matter what government system we have. The damage is done. You need to be a prepper, folks, not to make a political statement. You need to be a prepper, folks, not just to win over Joe Biden. You need to be a prepper to survive the hell that is coming. Some people are just now getting a taste of it. You know, the people in Northern California with those fires, terrible. The people of the Gulf Coast who got hammered by that hurricane, terrible. The people of lockdown states like Michigan, Illinois, lockdown cities like New York and Chicago, and many others beside, folks. They've got a good taste of economic destruction. by politicians who have an agenda. And it's horrifying, folks. Those are just small pieces. They want to give all of us a taste of everything. They want to break us down to the point where they can give us a little back and say, see, this isn't so bad. Just do as you're told, and we'll make sure you've got not a chicken in every pot, but a handful of beans. We may not get you clean water, but we're going to get you some water. That's all they care about, folks, is sustaining the country. As long as they own and control it, that's all they give a fuck about. They want their power and control. They want to live well while you live like, I don't know, an Afghani in Afghanistan. You see, we talked about this 2 years ago, 4 years ago, 10 years ago. The average American could afford to fly across the country, to go on vacation, to drive a nice car. The average American who works hard and pays their taxes, as much as that was still able to live pretty well. Rich people, all they got to do is fly in the front of the plane and have a cushier seat. They didn't feel very rich now, did they? Their automobiles, anyone could buy. Anyone can buy a fucking Maserati or a Ferrari these days, folks. It's just, do you want the payment or not? So these rich people, they're not way out in front. They're barely out in front, even though they own just about everything. People are living too well. So guess what they do? They take away our liberty, our freedom. They take away our ability to travel, to live a decent lifestyle. That's what they've done now. They want to reduce everyone to slave level, where it's a renter economy. Everything that you own, you don't own. You just rent it. Now they can feel powerful, these fucks. That's right, folks. They're not going to give up. They're not going to go away. And once they've gotten a taste of this power, have they quit? Nope, they don't quit. All right, you got Dangerous Freedom checks in. He says, a little bird told me to expect prices to go higher in October. Stock up now. Well, I tell you what, the little bird told me that, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, it's going to keep going up, folks. Massive inflation in the cost of fuel, the cost of goods, the cost of food, the cost of general services. Everything is going up. Why? Is it more difficult to make a hamburger? Is it more difficult to fill out tax papers? And what is it that people pay for these days? Right? Is clothing coming from India or China more expensive? Well, we do know that shipping containers coming out of China that are owned by Chinese shipping companies, they've raised their prices enormously. So you get no more value, but you get higher prices because of that, the shipping costs. The fact that they're raising their labor prices in other countries. And really the major factor is the fact that they're printing so many dollars to keep this economy going. We're in a hyperinflationary printing process right now. We've been in it for some time, and it's now starting to have an effect. Inflation, it's not going to get better. And there are just a very few precious ways to stop it. Well, Latin American Preps comes in and he says, Biden has overstepped his authority. Biden has overstepped his authority. He opened the border to undocumented immigrants, and Afghan refugees prioritized left Americans stranded in Afghanistan. Now the juice mandates. Should he be impeached? Well, if he had any sense of decency, morality, and propriety, he would resign in disgrace and go the fuck away and pray nobody ever said his name aloud again. Should he be impeached? Absolutely. High crimes and misdemeanors. That's what you can be impeached for. High crimes. What did Trump do that he was impeached for? Can anyone even remember? They were such nebulous bullshit charges. If you are the president, you are supposed to be responsible for things. He is now responsible for the deaths of how many Americans who he abandoned. Is abandoning someone, causing them, let's rephrase this. To cause someone's death is a crime. It's called manslaughter. You know, whether it was premeditated murder, first-degree murder, second-degree murder, whatever, it's manslaughter. It's death. How many people have died as a result of his actions? How many Americans have died as a direct result? Is that not an offense? Manslaughter. Now there's accident. Well, you know, I sent all the military. We had all the planes needed, necessary. We had the whole plan lined out, and the enemy made it impossible. It was a tragedy. That's one thing. But to say, abandon ship, give them Afghanistan. Here's $85 billion worth of stuff. And screw the American people there. And then they get yelled at. Oh, I meant, no, we're going to rescue them. Changed his mind on it. Lied. If that is not a high crime, a felony, folks, abandoning Americans when you have the authority. Well, how about this? Let's go a little bit further. Giving the Taliban not only the country back, not only abandoning our allies, not only abandoning our allies, the Afghanis themselves. How about the fact that Biden gave $85 billion worth of equipment? And that's just what we know about, folks. What about all of the equipment that's there, that was supplied, that was granted, that was promised, in addition to all the pallets and stacks of cash? Is that not sound a little bit like treason? Giving over to the enemy, giving aid and comfort to the enemy is treason. It's treason. He should resign. He should be impeached, and then I think that he should be tried for treason. What I think doesn't matter, though, folks. I have no power and authority. I'm just a regular guy, just like you. Just a regular guy. All we can do is sit here and watch and go, this is fucked up. I better be fully prepared because it's falling apart. This is like grabbing that string and just pulling on it, and the fabric just comes apart. Anita F says this: I am fearful of my hometown after Hurricane Ida. 2/3 of homes in my neighborhood are uninhabitable. It would take months to fully repair our home into good conditions. Oh, in good conditions. It would take months in good conditions. Weather warfare is the only way to break up a tight-knit Cajun community like ours. We have never in my 50-plus years seen this devastation here. The military leadership, starting way back in the 50s, wanted weather warfare. They wanted to be able to use the weather to hamper and even destroy and defeat an enemy. At the very least, we've seen various governments in the United States, state governments as well as the federal government, create scenarios by which, at the very least, natural devastation is exacerbated and the suffering and pain is increased. Whether we're talking about the relief efforts that are late, never show up, and are corrupt, Hurricane Katrina, right? We're seeing the destruction from Ida. Just a few years ago, was it Hurricane Irma? The fires out west in California, Oregon, Idaho, Washington are just devastating, devastating, because the government doesn't manage the forests anymore, because they pull resources, they stop firefighter programs in the camps, the prison camps. Gavin Newsom sends California firefighters into Oregon instead of taking care of the California fires that were burning in areas where the people were not happy with Gavin and were signing those recall notices. So let's punish them by taking away their jobs, their little economic sustainability in those areas. Sure seems that way to me. Hundreds of thousands of acres blackened. Millions and billions of dollars worth of property in the Gulf Coast destroyed. And yeah, there is a truth. There's a potential that it was caused, directed, increased, and exacerbated through weather control mechanisms, because that's been talked about. As recently as a couple years ago, congressional papers coming out on weather control and weather warfare, as well as the chemtrails, what they're for. They're absolutely wrecking everything. Let's move on if we can. I'm absolutely frustrated and pissed off. I just am. What can we do about it, folks? What are we allowed to do about it? I've got articles here, and Jolene has posted them from the CDC and other websites. This is from an anonymous person. My terminal has over 200 semis as of yesterday. 200 trucks, folks, semi-trucks. 48 trucks are deadline because they can't get parts. My truck has been down for 6 weeks and we deliver groceries. It's going to get bad. Thank you very much, Anonymous. I've been getting reports from around the country on both food prices and food availability. Prices are going up. That's the inflation we've been talking about. They're going up, mostly on the meat. Let's take a little sidestep from the trucking. Trucks are diesel-powered pieces of equipment, aka road tractors. On farms, folks, they have agricultural tractors with diesel engines that require parts that are made by Caterpillar, John Deere, and other companies. You think they're going to have the same trouble getting parts? Shake your head, yes, like this. That means they're going to have trouble with crops. They're going to have more trouble fixing things, folks, getting them running, which means we're going to have less vegetables as well as less meat. And we're going to have fewer trucks to haul things around. I've been hearing about empty shelves from certain locations around the country, as well as higher prices. The availability of parts, auto parts, truck parts, is becoming alarming. Absolutely becoming alarming. They're doing it on purpose, folks. There is absolutely no reason for any of this to be. These parts could be made right here in the United States of America, whether they're made out of steel or aluminum, plastic, wood, I don't give a shit. They can be manufactured here. Yet where is all of our manufacturing? Well, for the most part, it's in Mexico or South, and it's over in China or other parts of Southeast Asia. I would rather pay $10 for a $5 part than have $5 for a part that is not available at all. Now, back to trucking again a little bit more. Truck drivers are incredibly independent. They work for themselves. They work under contract for companies. And they spend all day in that truck driving from point A to point B, making America work. What happens if they say, fuck it, I'm not taking the Jim Jones juice, I quit? They don't make tons of money, folks. Truck drivers do not make boatloads of money. They make a living, some of them. Why should they work their ass off? Why should they put up with all this shit? Why should they risk their life? Why should they take, right, a tequila shot? If you take that and you get injured, who's going to pay your bills? It's certainly not going to be Moderna or Pfizer. Let's move on. Dangerous Freedom said, should we expect a false waving of the flag tomorrow? I am not going to expect it. Dangerous. I had this conversation last night with a friend. who said, you know what, I'm not doing anything Saturday. I'm not doing anything Saturday. And I said, well, since 9/11, every anniversary, I tell myself, be on the lookout. John, don't go to major sporting events. Don't go into big cities. Don't, if you can help it, go anywhere near sports stadiums, military bases, very populated areas, theme parks, any place that would be a target for terrorism. Just it's one day out of the year that you can avoid all that shit. But then I thought, it is a symbolic day. And I know that the bad guys, whether they're in DC or Kabul or Tehran or Jerusalem, or the bad guys in Stuttgart, right? I know the bad guys love symbolism. And so what better day than Hitler's birthday or 9/11? But they could do it any day. The person I was talking to said, well, what about all that equipment, that $85 billion that you're aware of, that was given to the Afghanis? I said, well, if they put them on ships, instantly, the day they won them back and took them to the coast, took them over to Iran, and then took them down to the port and loaded them on ships, and then had to sail them across the oceans all the way to, let's say, Mexico, and found a port where they could secretly offload all of this U.S. military equipment, and then muster all of their troops, and then drive this equipment to the American, right? The logistics, they wouldn't be here already. They wouldn't be here on time for September 11th. But it does cause one to ask the question, is it possible that we're going to have one? Is it likely we're going to have a false flag event? As time goes on, and this is my prediction, my prognostication, in 2021, as time goes on, as the economy gets worse, as the tyranny grows, as everything gets more and more and more conflicted, as the divide expands between these dumb fuck leftists and people who are normal, who just want to be free Americans. And of course, the other ones want to enslave us and make us do everything they say and give us all their money, or give them all of our money, free Americans' money. The odds of a false flag happening go up. Now, they will not commit a false flag, folks, unless it serves a purpose. We had many during the Obama administration because they wanted to get rid of guns. They wanted to attack the Second Amendment. Interesting how they lost those battles, did they? They didn't win the Second Amendment takeovers, but they always do have an agenda. Right now, folks, they could allow or cause to be a very bad event that would scare the people, who would then demand that something be done. The government would offer the solution. And the solution is always to give the government more power and authority. So what are they looking for now? We're being told a number of things. We're being told that cerveza bug is really bad. So that means that there is a chance that a biological agent could be released intentionally and say, now we're being poisoned, right? Or they could say, hey, look, some bombs went off in this city, in that city. We had bombings in 10 different states. And it's these crazy right-wing radicals who love freedom and liberty and want to be left alone. And so they've committed an act of war against all of us good little communists out here. So again, they have the why. They have the agenda. They want to destroy America. And so they would have those Americans who love America, they would present them to the world as the bad guys, as the antagonists, the evil antagonists. They would call us the terrorists, the domestic violent extremists. The odds of that are very high because we're the problem. Their agenda is to get rid of their problems. So expect that if something happens, you will be blamed. You, your guns, your attitude, everything. We got Track Rock comes in and says, balkanization may be inevitable and nothing is going to turn for the good. First come cities burning and blood flowing down the gutters. That is a common prediction, that the cities are going to be the things that fall apart first, and that the violence in cities is going to be chaotic. I've got a story here right in front of me to kind of, shall we say, support that notion. We have heard all across the country that police officers are leaving police departments. They don't like the fact that they're being called the bad guy, that they're being treated very poorly, that morale is very low, that they don't really get paid that much, that they're having their hands tied while criminals are being allowed out of jail and to commit more crimes. Now, there is a place called Missouri City, a small Missouri town, has 2,400 people in it, 2,500 people. It's just, the police force just John Galted. They just walked away. From the chief of police, all of the officers, all the way down the line, all of them quit. They announced their resignations and walked. 3 officers, a sergeant, and the police chief of Kimberling City. This is the small Missouri town. Small Missouri City, Kimberling City Police Department. They cited several reasons to leave and just said, fuck you, we're out of here. When things get worse in the big cities, you think the police are going to stick around, risk their lives for little or no pay while being called the bad guys, right? While being attacked? Or do you think the police, if they don't just leave the city altogether, will just stick to defending themselves and their own families and homes? Right? They've been treated like shit since the whole BLM fiasco. Unintended consequences, or were these intended consequences? Right? Well, we know what the cause is. Whether it was unintended or not, we get to deal with the shit. And the cities, folks, that's where the crime is. Out in the country, people already know that everyone around them has a gun. And if you fuck up, you make a big enough mistake, they're either going to shoot you or beat your ass. And if you try resisting them with your gun, then they'll shoot you for sure. But in the cities, I think they're going to be harder lessons to learn. So I do recommend being prepared for a no police scenario. And yeah, there's going to be a lot of blood. Now we got Fourth Dimension checked in, and this is Kaz, and he has the Fourth Dimension channel. Oliver runs the rsyndicate.com. Folks, there's a lot of people out there. We all seem to have pretty much a same view. You know, we're looking up the ass end of a dead cow. Not a pretty sight. Kaz says this: we know the Biden speech had multiple purposes. Note it was given in front of a portrait of Lincoln. Civil War. Lincoln was the president. That's interesting. Lincoln was also the first Republican president. Did you know that? Lincoln was the first Republican to be elected as president of the United States. Why would Joe Biden stand in front of Lincoln? Well, you know, I put a lot of weight on symbology. I personally do. For example, Trump liked to do speeches in front of Andrew Jackson. Why he would choose Lincoln, I don't think he did. I think someone did it for him. Lincoln told the South, right, we're coming for you. You don't get to leave. You don't get to be free. The North is going to tell you what to do. And in today's language, it would be the Democrats get to tell you what to do. You don't get to be free. There is no freedom anymore. All right, we got Jenny Jen checking in. She says, I feel like at this point, we the people are letting this continue. Our elected officials, our elected representatives, are not representing us. We need to stand together to reinstate our wrongly taken freedoms. How do we do that, Jen? That's the big trick, right? If I were to call, and I've had this conversation with a few people, if I were to say everybody in the state of Texas, everybody in the state of Mississippi, everybody in South Carolina, we are going to muster, that is, show up with arms outside of the state capitol, and we are going to march on the state capitol, and we're going to demand our rights openly with our arms and tell the government no more. Well, we could let's just say we were allowed to do that without being arrested, get through town unmolested, and actually stand on the Capitol steps. How do they go about doing that to satisfy what we want done? Right? We say, hey, no more cerveza bug lockdown. And they say, oh, okay, there'll be no more of that then. And I'm not making fun of anybody here. It's how do you actually do this? How do you actually make a country work? It's incredibly impossible, especially with the interference that would occur. It's going to happen. We, the people, are going to take it back. And again, I want to go all the way back, if I may, to the American Revolution. People were fucking pissed off for years and years, well over a decade, at the tyranny that was coming out of the king. What was he doing? He was blockading our ports so that goods could not show up. What's going on with our country at the ports? We're not able to get our goods. Is there a military blockade there? No, there is a fascist power that is impeding our importation ability. What else did King George and his troops do? Well, they overtaxed everyone. Yeah, we're overtaxed. They had the redcoats screwing with everybody, enforcing every law as regulators, going in and regulating people or demanding they obey in a certain way. We have that today. OSHA is going to be the one putting out the fines, folks. Now, there is a minimum oxygen content that people are supposed to have when they're working. Did you know that if you wear a mask, that the safe oxygen level that you work at drops below the required OSHA minimum? Yet OSHA is going to do and follow what the president says, President Xi Biden, and say, well, this is now more important. They're going to enforce one set of rules, but not another. So yeah, King George, they went in and they had all kinds of rules, and you're going to do this and you're going to do that, right? You can't do something on Wednesday. You're not allowed to speak up. You can't talk back, right? You can't criticize. All the exact same things happened back in the American Revolution or prior to it. And there was no army that was created. There was no organized militia in colonial America. There were loose-knit, ragtag communities of people who were fucking pissed off. Eventually, the bad guys, the tyrants, had shot, killed, burned, looted, and murdered enough that there was finally a shootout. A couple of them, folks, and it became known as Lexington and Concord. People had finally had enough. And that there, at that point, set off a greater movement, a greater rebellion. It doesn't happen all in a day, folks. It's a series of events that occur. And at some point, pow, it's too far. Someone loses their shit. A bunch of people get in a shootout, and we've been waiting for it. And I have no doubt that it's coming. This is not 1930s Germany. This is America. And we have an awful lot of guns, an awful lot of ammunition, an awful lot of well-trained veterans. And what I've heard today is veterans all over the country have stepped up their game. Preppers all over the country are stepping up their game right now, because this demand by Biden is outrageous and over the top, and it cannot be tolerated or allowed. So the response is get ready, and people are doing it by preparing for violence. an armed shootout. Now, going back to revolutionary America again, after Lexington and Concord, it took quite a while to put together a ragtag continental army that got its ass kicked all over the place, folks, by the British. The British were a world empire at the time. They were the most trained, most experienced fighting force on the planet, the Brits. And we had to employ, as Americans, unique fighting styles, which have been incorporated and developed ever since then. Instead of meeting in a field and standing, 20 feet from each other and blasting each other's fucking brains out all over the place, Americans hid behind rocks and trees. They hid in the forests. Developed guerrilla warfare from that point on, folks. Guerrilla warfare from that point on. Can we defeat some sort of Washington, D.C. pile of shit army? Probably. If our trained military, the Army, the Marine Corps, couldn't defeat all of the Taliban in a country that had very few trees, right? No places to hide. What makes the government in DC think they can defeat us? Well, they don't think they can. They know they can cause us a lot of pain. They know that we're soft. They know that we're spoiled. They know that we prefer comfort to pain. And they think that they can offer us little trinkets to get us to surrender our rights. And that's what they're doing, folks. They're offering trinkets. We're going to give you a chance to win some money. We're going to give you a free pair of shoes. We're going to give you $1,000 to take this jungle juice. Why are they pushing this shit so hard on us? Is it because they really care about us? Or is there some nefarious thing behind it? Bill Gates. Anyways, folks, I am wrapped up here. Oh, nope. We got more going. We got Mikey. He says, I asked this question of John several years ago. Could AI be in control? Skynet has reached self-awareness, robot tyranny, transhumanism. Thoughts now? I remember that question. And my answer is the same. Could AI be in control? I believe that artificial intelligence, AI, could be being used to create models by which actions are taken in order to get, like we could ask the computer, the AI computer, we want the people to submit to full 100% Jim Jones juice. How do we go about doing that? What are the methods that are most successful? And all this stuff could be programmed in and it could think for itself and all this crap. Yeah, it's possible. It's absolutely possible. Robots, we have now autonomous drones. We have four-legged and bipedal robots that can be armed, that is given weapons, whether it is anti-riot pepper balls all the way up to exploding shells. We're getting closer to that, to this idea of the potential Skynet. Now, I know that the people in charge would love to have a police military force that obeys every command, doesn't question the legality or lethality of any action being taken. They would love that, but they're going to need other robots to care for the robots. They would need a robot army and a robot civilian force. We're not there yet, folks, but it wouldn't surprise me if that's not in their future plans. One of the things they have to do, though, is get rid of people, period. Reduce the population. It's unnecessary. It's unnecessary. Very crazy, folks. It's a crazy thought, but when you look around and you see the attitude, the prevailing attitude of those who are in charge, quite disturbing. Okay, folks, we're going to do Sunday Night Live this weekend, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3 p.m. Pacific Time. We will be doing the Worldwide Weekly Wrap-Up, uncensored, but it's only going to be on Patreon and Patreon only, so thank you very much. I hope you guys are well, safe, and prepared. Hey, chance favors the prepared mind, folks. Is yours. It's been a hell of a long week. Get some rest. It has just begun. Godspeed. God bless. Get prepared.